Welcome to Z Cineplex, your ultimate entertainment destination. Welcome to Z Cineplex, the home of entertainment, creativity, and cinematic excitement. Our channel is dedicated to bringing viewers a rich collection of engaging content that celebrates the world of movies, storytelling, and visual entertainment. Whether you're a passionate film enthusiast, someone who enjoys discovering new cinematic experiences, or simply looking for high-quality entertainment, Z Cineplex is designed to be your go-to destination. We strive to create content that is informative, enjoyable, and engaging for audiences of all ages, offering a unique blend of movie-related features, entertainment updates, insightful discussions, creative videos, and much more. Every upload is crafted with attention to quality, ensuring that our viewers receive an enjoyable experience that keeps them coming back for more. At Z Cineplex, we believe that cinema is more than just watching films. It's about experiencing emotions, exploring stories, appreciating creativity, and connecting with people who share the same passion for entertainment. Our mission is to build a vibrant community where movie lovers and entertainment enthusiasts can discover exciting content, share their opinions, and stay connected with the latest trends in the entertainment industry. We are committed to consistently improving our content, embracing new ideas, and delivering videos that entertain, inform, and inspire our growing audience. Whether you're here for movie highlights, entertainment discussions, reviews, cinematic moments, or fresh creative content, Z Cineplex promises an enjoyable journey filled with excitement, quality, and unforgettable entertainment. Join our community by subscribing, turning on notifications, and becoming part of the Z Cineplex family as we continue to explore the fascinating world of cinema and entertainment together. Thank you for your support, and welcome to Z Cineplex, where every video brings entertainment to life. Avatar: Fire and Ash is a 2025 American epic science fiction film directed, co-written, co-produced, and co-edited by James Cameron. The screenplay was written by Cameron alongside Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, from a story developed with Josh Friedman and Shane Salerno. Produced by Lightstorm Entertainment and distributed by 20th Century Studios, the film serves as the third installment in the groundbreaking Avatar franchise and the direct sequel to Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022. The film reunites much of the franchise's principal cast, including Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, Zoe Saldana +A as Neytiri, Sigourney Weaver as Kiri, Stephen Lang as the recombinant Colonel Miles Guerrich, Kate Winslet as Ronald, Cliff Curtis as Tonowari, Britton Dalton, Trinity Jolie Bliss, Jack Champion, Bailey Bass, Joel David Moore, Dali Prow, Giovanni Ribisi, CCH Pounder, Edie Falco, Jermaine Clement, Brendan Caldwell, and Dunia Chaplin, who portrays the mysterious and formidable Vrang, leader of the newly introduced Tash clan. Set once again on the lush moon of Pandora, the story continues the journey of Jake Sully, Neytiri, and their family as they struggle to recover from devastating personal loss while confronting an increasingly dangerous conflict between the expanding Resources Development Administration, RDA, and the Mangu clan, commonly known as the Ash Clan, a fierce and warlike Na'vi tribe that has abandoned Iwa's spiritual teachings following generations of hardship caused by volcanic devastation. As old enemies return and new alliances are forged, the Sully family is forced to navigate betrayal, grief, survival, and the moral complexities of a war that threatens the future of Pandora itself. Development of the third Avatar film began shortly after the unprecedented global success of the original Avatar, 2009. James Cameron initially announced plans for 2 sequels, with a third film originally targeted for release in December 2015. However, the scope of the franchise expanded significantly as Cameron decided to produce 5 interconnected films instead of 3. The ambitious expansion required years of script development, extensive world-building, and revolutionary technological innovations, including advanced underwater performance capture systems and next-generation visual effects pipelines. Principal photography for Avatar: Fire and Ash began simultaneously with Avatar: The Way of Water on September 25, 2017, in New Zealand, where the films were shot back-to-back to accommodate the aging of the younger cast. Production continued over several years before wrapping in late December 2020, followed by an extensive post-production process involving thousands of artists working on visual effects, animation, and rendering, with an estimated production budget exceeding $350 million before marketing costs. The film ranks among the most expensive productions ever undertaken and represents one of the largest technical achievements in modern cinematic history. Avatar: Fire and Ash held its world premiere at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood, Los Angeles, on December 1, 2025, before receiving an exclusive IMAX release on December 18 and a wide theatrical release in the United States on December 19, 2025. Through 20th Century Studios. The film debuted as one of the year's biggest cinematic events and generated strong global audience interest. Critics praised its breathtaking visual effects, photorealistic CGI, motion capture performances, immersive world-building, emotional character moments, musical score, and Cameron's technical ambition, while criticism was primarily directed at its lengthy runtime, familiar narrative structure, and reliance on themes established in previous installments. Despite the mixed to positive critical reception, audience response was considerably stronger, contributing to an impressive worldwide theatrical run. The film ultimately grossed approximately $1.490 billion worldwide, including hundreds of millions from North America and international markets, making it the third highest-grossing film of 2025. Although it became another billion-dollar blockbuster, it remains the lowest-grossing entry in the Avatar franchise, reflecting both the extraordinarily high benchmarks set by its predecessors and increased competition in the global theatrical marketplace. The film received widespread recognition during the 2025-2026 awards season, particularly for its groundbreaking visual effects, production design, sound, and technical craftsmanship. It earned multiple nominations at the 98 Academy Awards, including recognition for Best Visual Effects, and received additional nominations from the 79th British Academy Film Awards, BAFTA. It was also selected by both the American Film Institute, OFI, and the National Board of Review, NBR, as one of the top 10 films of 2025. Further cementing its status as one of the year's most significant cinematic achievements. Beyond its commercial performance and awards recognition, the film continued James Cameron's tradition of pushing the boundaries of filmmaking technology while expanding the mythology, cultures, and ecosystems of Pandora for future installments. Following the release of Avatar: Fire and Ash, development continued on the franchise's remaining sequels. Avatar 4 is currently scheduled for release in 2029, followed by Avatar 5 in 2031, with both films having already completed substantial portions of principal photography alongside earlier installments. While James Cameron has expressed confidence in completing the 5-film saga, the long-term trajectory of the franchise remains closely tied to the commercial performance and audience reception of Fire and Ash, which serves as a pivotal chapter bridging the emotional and narrative arcs leading toward the series' planned conclusion. Set shortly after the heartbreaking death of their eldest son, Nadiam, in the events of Avatar: The Way of Water, Avatar: Fire and Ash follows Jake Sully, Neytiri, and their family as they struggle to cope with overwhelming grief while continuing to live among the ocean-dwelling Metkayina clan. Nadiam's death leaves a permanent emotional scar on the Sully family, particularly Neytiri, whose hatred for humanity and the Resources Development Administration, RDA, grows even stronger after losing her firstborn to the human invasion of Pandora. At the same time, their adopted human son Spider faces an increasingly dangerous problem. His breathing mask, which allows him to survive in Pandora's atmosphere, begins failing after its power supply is depleted during the night. Realizing that Spider can no longer safely remain away from human technology, Jake and Neytiri reluctantly decide to escort him back to the nearby human scientific outpost, believing it to be the only place where his life can be protected. Accompanied by several members of the Metkayina, the Sully family boards a convoy of large flying merchant vessels traveling across Pandora's breathtaking skies. unaware that the journey will plunge them into a new and devastating conflict. Their voyage is violently interrupted when the convoy is ambushed by the Mang clan, better known as the Ash clan, one of Pandora's most feared and hostile Na'vi tribes. Hardened by generations of suffering in the volcanic wastelands they inhabit, the Mang have abandoned many of Iwa's traditional teachings and instead embrace conquest, survival, and destruction. Led by their ruthless and charismatic matriarch Vrang, the warriors launch a coordinated assault on the merchant fleet, looting its cargo before setting the vessels ablaze. The surprise attack results in the deaths of numerous passengers and crew members while scattering the Sully family across the battlefield. During the chaos, Colonel Miles Quaritchan, now permanently inhabiting his recombinant Na'vi body, captures Jake, but circumstances soon force the longtime enemies into an uneasy partnership as both search for the missing Spider. Meanwhile, Spider collapses after his damaged breathing mask completely fails, leaving him unable to survive Pandora's atmosphere. Witnessing his adopted brother dying, Kiri instinctively channels a mysterious spiritual force through Pandora's vast mycelial network, infusing Spider's body with Iwa's living energy. The miraculous act permanently transforms Spider's biology, granting him the unprecedented ability to breathe Pandora's atmosphere naturally without technological assistance. The Mang eventually capture Jake, Quaritch, Spider, Kiri, and several members of the Sully family. During their captivity, Quaritch recognizes an opportunity to strengthen his position by teaching Vrang and her warriors how to operate advanced human firearms and military equipment, giving the Ash clan weapons unlike anything previously possessed by the Na'vi. Before the alliance can fully solidify, Kiri taps into her extraordinary bond with Pandora's living ecosystem, commanding nearby plants and predatory organisms to attack their captors and create an opportunity for everyone to escape. Meanwhile, human scientists Norm Spellman and Max Potel begin studying Spider's miraculous transformation, believing his biological adaptation could revolutionize humanity's ability to permanently inhabit Pandora without breathing equipment. At the same time, Kiri continues searching for answers about her own mysterious origins. She learns that she was born directly through Iwa rather than by natural means, yet an unseen force prevents her from fully connecting with the planet's spiritual consciousness. Exploiting the growing instability across Pandora, Quaritch officially allies himself with Vrang, supplying the Ash clan with rifles, flamethrowers, and modern military technology while also developing an increasingly intimate personal relationship with the Mang leader, further strengthening their dangerous partnership. As Spider begins adapting to his extraordinary new physiology, Kiri helps him discover that he can nearly connect with Pandora's wildlife and plant life in ways no human ever has before. Their growing friendship gradually develops into a romantic bond, culminating in their first kiss. However, their happiness is short-lived when Quaritch captures Spider and uses him as leverage against Jake. Leading both RDA forces and the heavily armed Ash clan, Quaritch attacks the Meetkaina village and demands that Jake surrender himself in exchange for his family's safety. Refusing to allow innocent Na'vi lives to be lost, Jake willingly gives himself up and is transported alongside Spider to the main RDA military base. At the same time, Jake's son Loak sets out across the oceans to warn Payakan and the Talkan before the RDA launches another large-scale hunting expedition against the intelligent marine giants during their sacred seasonal gathering. Inside the RDA base, Spider becomes the subject of extensive scientific experimentation as researchers attempt to unlock the biological secrets behind his newfound ability to breathe Pandora's atmosphere. Jake, meanwhile, is sentenced to execution. Determined to rescue both her husband and adopted son, Neytiri infiltrates the heavily fortified installation with unmatched stealth and ferocity. Unexpected assistance comes from RDA marine biologist Ian Garvin, whose growing disillusionment with the corporation's exploitation of Pandora motivates him to free Jake from captivity. Together, Jake, Neytiri, and Spider escape the facility, but Jake faces an agonizing moral dilemma. Believing Spider's altered biology could enable humanity to permanently colonize Pandora, he briefly considers ending Spider's life to prevent the RDA from exploiting his unique abilities. Unable to bring himself to kill the son he has raised and loved for years, Jake abandons the idea, choosing instead to embrace Spider alongside Neytiri, reaffirming that he will always remain a member of their family regardless of his human origins. As war approaches, Jake races back to warn the Metkayina that the RDA intends to slaughter an entire congregation of Tulkun. Initially, the Tulkun Council refuses to abandon its centuries-old tradition of pacifism despite the looming threat. Their position changes only after Loak arrives with Bicon and another battle-scarred Tulkun survivor named Thanok, whose horrific injuries serve as undeniable proof of humanity's brutality. Inspired to fight for their survival, the Tulkun agree to resist. Jake once again bonds with the legendary flying predator Tawaryuk, reclaiming his status as Tawaryuk Makto, and successfully unites multiple Navi clans into a single resistance force. When the RDA fleet launches its assault against the Tulkun migration, the Navi and Tulkun strike first in a massive coordinated ambush that erupts into one of the largest battles ever fought on Pandora. The tide of battle shifts dramatically, however, when Quaritch arrives alongside Vrang and the heavily armed Ash clan. During the fierce conflict, Metkayina leader Ronald suffers fatal injuries while giving birth. Before Ronald dies, Neytiri delivers her newborn daughter, Pril, preserving the child's life even as the grieving warriors lose their beloved matriarch. Neytiri herself is subsequently captured by Vrang's forces. Facing overwhelming defeat, Spider and the youngest Sully child, Took, help Kiri finally break through the mysterious spiritual barrier separating her from Iwa. Establishing direct communication with Pandora's deity, Kiri desperately pleads for the planet itself to intervene. Iwa answers by awakening Pandora's interconnected ecosystem. Swarms of deadly creatures, towering predators, and living plant life descend upon the battlefield, devastating the remaining RDA forces and rescuing the trapped Tulkun. During the climactic confrontation, Vrang attempts to execute Neytiri but is ultimately driven back by Kiri's extraordinary command over Pandora's wildlife. Thanok exacts revenge by killing notorious Tulkun hunter Captain Mick Scoresby, ending one of humanity's most ruthless whaling campaigns. Meanwhile, Jake and Quaritch are swept into a massive magnetic flux generated by Pandora's unstable geological forces, which begins tearing apart the remaining RDA fleet. As the longtime enemies engage in one final brutal hand-to-hand battle atop floating rocks suspended within the magnetic storm, Spider falls into the abyss below. Forced to cooperate despite years of hatred, Jake and Quaritch work together to save Spider before continuing their confrontation. When Neytiri and the Sully children finally arrive, Quaritch chooses to leap into the depths rather than surrender, leaving his ultimate fate uncertain. In the aftermath of the battle, Pandora begins to heal from the devastating conflict as surviving Navi clans mourn their losses while celebrating their victory over the invading RDA forces and the Ash clan. Spider joins the Metkayina at the sacred underwater spirit trees, where he spiritually connects with Iwa and encounters the memories and spirits of countless deceased Navi ancestors. There he is reunited with the consciousness of Dr. Grace Augustine, Kiri's mother, who welcomes him into Pandora's eternal spiritual network. Finally accepting Spider as one of their own, Kiri formally introduces him to Grace before he undergoes a sacred initiation ceremony, marking his complete acceptance into Navi society and symbolizing the possibility of lasting unity between humanity and Pandora as the saga moves toward its final chapters. Avatar: Fire and Ash features the return of the franchise's acclaimed ensemble cast while introducing several significant new characters who expand the mythology of Pandora. Sam Worthington reprises his role as Jake Sully, the former human marine who permanently transferred his consciousness into a Navi body and became the legendary Tawaryuk Makto after leading the Navi to victory against the Resources Development Administration, RDA, during the events of the original Avatar. Now a devoted husband, father, and respected leader, Jake continues protecting his family following their relocation to the Metkayina Reef clan after the events of Avatar: The Way of Water. Haunted by the devastating loss of his eldest son Nadiam, Jake struggles to balance his responsibilities as a warrior, clan leader, and father while confronting an escalating war involving both the returning RDA forces and the newly introduced Ash clan. Zoe Saldana +A returns as Neytiri, the fearless Omadikeya princess, Master Hunter, and Jake's wife. Still mourning the death of Nadiam, Neytiri becomes consumed by grief and rage, causing her hatred toward humanity to intensify more than ever before. James Cameron and Saldana A+A have described her emotional journey as one of the darkest in the franchise, with her overwhelming trauma pushing her toward an uncompromising hostility against all humans, regardless of their intentions. Sigourney Weaver once again portrays Kiri, the mysterious adopted daughter of Jake and Neytiri, who was miraculously born from the genetically engineered but never conscious Na'vi avatar of the late Dr. Grace Augustine. As Kiri's extraordinary connection with Pandora deepens, she continues discovering mysterious spiritual abilities that set her apart from every other Na'vi. Throughout the film, she searches for answers regarding her unique origin and her profound relationship with Iwa, the living consciousness of Pandora. Weaver also reprises her original role as Dr. Grace Augustine, who appears during spiritual visions and moments of communion through Iwa, offering emotional guidance and revealing new insights into Kiri's extraordinary existence. Stephen Lang returns as Colonel Miles Guerrich, the ruthless former commander of the RDA's security forces who was killed during the Battle of Pandora in the first film before being resurrected as a recombinant Na'vi through advanced human biotechnology. Still driven by his relentless determination to conquer Pandora and defeat Jake Sully, Guerrich becomes an increasingly complex antagonist as he forges dangerous alliances while grappling with his complicated relationship with his biological son, Spider. One of the film's most important new characters is Una Chaplin as Vrang, the powerful and formidable leader of the Manku clan, more commonly known as the Ash clan. Unlike the spiritually connected Na'vi tribes introduced in previous films, Vrang's people have survived generations of unimaginable hardship within Pandora's harsh volcanic regions, causing them to abandon many of Iwa's traditional teachings in favor of survival through strength, conquest, and warfare. James Cameron has described Vrang as a deeply layered antagonist whose seemingly ruthless decisions are motivated by an unwavering commitment to protecting her people, even if doing so requires actions that others would consider cruel or morally unforgivable. Her leadership and eventual alliance with Colonel Guerrich introduce one of the franchise's most dangerous threats yet. The Metkayina Reef clan also returns with several familiar faces. Cliff Curtis reprises his role as Tanawari, the respected chief of the Metkayina, devoted husband of Rana, and father of Tsaria and Onan, who once again stands beside Jake in defending Pandora against human invasion. Kate Winslet returns as Ronald, the spiritual leader and heavily pregnant matriarch of the Metkayina, whose courage and wisdom continue inspiring her people despite the devastating consequences of war. Bailey Bass reprises her role as Tsaria, the compassionate daughter of Tanawari and Rana, who maintains her close relationship with Loak while serving as one of the younger generation's strongest advocates for unity among Pandora's clans. Philip Gelio returns as Onan, Tsaria's brother, whose maturity continues to grow after overcoming his initial rivalry with the Sully children. Wayne Evans Jr. also returns as Roxo, a loyal young Metkayina warrior and trusted companion to the Sully family throughout the escalating conflict. The younger members of the Sully family continue to play central roles in the story. Britton Dalton reprises his performance as Loak, Jake and Neytiri's rebellious but courageous second son, whose unique bond with the exiled Talkan becomes increasingly important as the conflict with the RDA intensifies. Jamie Flatters returns as Nadiam, Jake and Neytiri's eldest son, who was killed during the battle at the end of Avatar, The Way of Water. Although deceased, Nadiam continues to appear through emotional visions and spiritual encounters that profoundly influence the Sully family's journey and symbolize the enduring connection between the living and the dead through Iwa. Trinity Jolie Bliss reprises her role as Taktayari, affectionately known as Took, the youngest child of Jake and Neytiri, whose innocence, bravery, and unwavering optimism remain a source of hope for her family during their darkest moments. Jack Champion returns as Miles Spider Sokro, the human son of Colonel Guerrich who was raised among the Na'vi after being adopted by Jake and Neytiri. Following extraordinary biological changes, Spider becomes a bridge between humanity and Pandora, forcing him to confront difficult questions about his identity, his relationship with his biological father, and where he truly belongs. The human characters continue to play pivotal roles throughout the conflict. Joel David Moore reprises his role as Dr. Norm Spellman, the former Avatar program scientist who remained on Pandora after joining the Na'vi resistance and continues researching ways to protect the moon's ecosystem. Dilip Rao returns as Dr. Max Patel, another scientist who chose to stand with the Na'vi following the original RDA invasion and works alongside Norm to study Pandora's unique biology. Jermaine Clement reprises his role as Dr. Ian Garvin, the marine biologist whose growing moral conflict over the RDA's exploitation of Pandora eventually places him at odds with his employers. Edie Falco returns as General Francis Ardmore, the commanding officer overseeing the RDA's renewed military campaign to reclaim Pandora and the superior officer directing Colonel Quaritch's operations. Giovanni Ribisi once again portrays Parker Selfridge, the former administrator of the RDA's original mining operation, whose return further highlights humanity's continuing corporate interests in exploiting Pandora's valuable natural resources. Additional returning cast members include Brandon Cowell as the ruthless Tulkun hunter Captain Mick Scoresby, whose relentless pursuit of Pandora's intelligent marine giants makes him one of the RDA's most dangerous operatives. Matt Gerald as Corporal Lyle Wainfleet, another deceased RDA soldier resurrected inside a recombinant Na'vi body who continues serving alongside Quaritch. CCH Pounder as Ma'at, the Omaticaya clan's revered spiritual leader, Naytira's mother, and one of Pandora's most respected Satilda Negation K. and David Thewlis as Palek, the charismatic Na'vi leader of the Peaceful Wind Traders, a nomadic merchant clan whose massive airborne vessels connect numerous regions of Pandora through trade and diplomacy. The film also features emotional appearances by Wes Studi, reprising his role as Idak, Neytiri's late father and former chief of the Omaticaya clan, and Laz Alonso as Tsidi, the legendary Omaticaya warrior who sacrificed his life during the original battle against the RDA. Both characters appear in spiritual visions through Iwa, reinforcing the franchise's themes of ancestral memory, family, and the enduring bond between the Na'vi and the living consciousness of Pandora. Development of Avatar, Fire and Ash began shortly after the extraordinary worldwide success of Avatar, 2009. Which became the highest-grossing film of all time and established James Cameron's ambitious long-term vision for the franchise. In 2010, Cameron officially announced plans to produce 2 sequels, with tentative release dates of December 2014 and December 2015. From the outset, however, Cameron made it clear that the sequels would not simply continue the story but would significantly expand the mythology, cultures, ecosystems, and spiritual themes of Pandora. He also revealed his intention to film the sequels back-to-back using cutting-edge filmmaking techniques, including experimenting with high frame rates beyond the traditional 24 frames per second to create a greater sense of realism and immersion. As the creative scope of the project continued to grow, Cameron ultimately expanded his original plan from 2 sequels into a 5-film saga, requiring a complete reworking of the overall narrative. This decision dramatically increased the scale of development and resulted in years of additional script writing, conceptual design, and technological innovation before production could officially begin. In late 2013, Cameron confirmed that the Avatar sequels would once again be produced in New Zealand, where the original film had pioneered many of its groundbreaking visual effects. Performance capture photography was initially expected to begin in 2014, while extensive agreements were reached between Lightstorm Entertainment, 20th Century Fox, and the New Zealand government to support the unprecedented production. Under the agreement, at least one world premiere of an Avatar sequel would be held in Wellington, New Zealand, while the production committed to investing more than 500 million New Zealand dollars, approximately $410 million US dollars at the time, into New Zealand's film industry through live-action filming, performance capture, visual effects, post-production, and other production activities. In recognition of the project's enormous economic impact, the New Zealand government increased its baseline film production tax rebate from 15% to 20%, with qualifying international productions becoming eligible for incentives of up to 25%. The partnership further strengthened New Zealand's reputation as one of the world's leading filmmaking destinations and ensured that the country would remain central to the Avatar franchise for more than a decade. As pre-production intensified, Cameron assembled an experienced creative team that included numerous longtime collaborators alongside new technical specialists. By early 2016, production on the sequels was expected to begin later that year, although the expanding scope of the franchise and the complexity of developing four interconnected screenplays continued to push back the schedule. Academy Award-winning cinematographer Russell Carpenter, who previously collaborated with Cameron on True Lies, 1994, and Titanic, 1997, joined the production to help create the film's distinctive visual style. Art director Ashrita Kamath also became part of the creative team, contributing to the design and construction of Pandora's increasingly diverse environments, cultures, and architecture. One of the greatest technical challenges involved filming extensive underwater performance capture sequences, something that had never before been achieved on such a large scale in a major motion picture. To prepare the actors for these demanding scenes, Cameron enlisted renowned freediving expert Kirk Crack, founder of Performance Freediving International, who spent months training both the cast and crew in advanced breath-holding techniques, underwater movement, and safety procedures. Several performers ultimately learned to hold their breath underwater for multiple minutes, allowing the filmmakers to capture authentic performances beneath the water's surface without relying on conventional scuba equipment, which would have interfered with the motion capture process. Company Weta Digital officially began work on the Avatar sequels. Building upon the revolutionary technology developed for the first two films, Weta created an entirely new generation of visual effects tools capable of rendering more detailed environments, photorealistic Na'vi characters, advanced facial animation, dynamic water simulations, volcanic landscapes, and increasingly complex interactions between Pandora's living ecosystems and its inhabitants. The visual effects studio spent years developing proprietary software and rendering technology to meet James Cameron's demanding creative vision, making Avatar, Fire and Ash one of the most technologically ambitious productions ever attempted. During the years leading up to the film's release, James Cameron gradually revealed new details about the story while emphasizing that the third installment would explore entirely new regions of Pandora and present a more morally complex portrayal of its inhabitants. In interviews conducted throughout 2023, Cameron confirmed that the film would introduce an entirely new Na'vi culture known as the Ash people, later identified as the Mangku clan. Unlike the Omatikeo Forest clan and the Meetke'ina Reef clan featured in previous films, the Mangku inhabit Pandora's volcanic regions, where generations of environmental catastrophe and relentless hardship have shaped them into a fierce and militaristic society. Cameron explained that the Ash clan should not be viewed simply as villains but as deeply layered characters whose harsh circumstances have forced them to make morally difficult choices in order to survive. Their leader, Vrang, embodies these themes, serving as one of the franchise's most nuanced antagonists whose fierce devotion to her people often places her in direct conflict with Jake Sully and his allies. The film's official title, Avatar, Fire and Ash, was unveiled by James Cameron on August 9, 2024. During Disney's D23 fan convention, Cameron explained that the title carries significant thematic meaning beyond its literal reference to Pandora's volcanic landscapes. According to the filmmaker, fire symbolizes anger, conflict, hatred, destruction, and the escalating violence consuming Pandora as war spreads among both humans and Na'vi. Ash, meanwhile, represents grief, mourning, trauma, loss, and the emotional scars left behind by tragedy, particularly following the death of Nadium and the lasting consequences of the ongoing conflict. Cameron noted that the title reflects the film's deeper emotional journey, exploring how both individuals and entire civilizations respond to unimaginable suffering, and how pain, vengeance, compassion, and hope become intertwined as the Avatar saga moves toward its concluding chapters. These thematic ideas ultimately shaped every aspect of the film's development, reinforcing Cameron's goal of creating not only a visually spectacular science fiction epic but also a deeply emotional story centered on family, sacrifice, resilience, and the enduring connection between all life on Pandora. The screenplay for Avatar: Fire and Ash was the result of one of the most ambitious collaborative writing processes ever undertaken for a film franchise. During the early development of the Avatar sequels, James Cameron announced that Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver would join him as co-writers to help expand the story beyond the original 2009 film. As the scope of the franchise grew into a planned 5-film saga, Cameron assembled a larger writer's room that also included Josh Friedman and Shane Salerno. Rather than having each writer independently develop a single sequel, the 4 writers spent months working closely with Cameron to create the complete narrative roadmap for all of the planned films. Together, they developed the mythology of Pandora, the histories of newly introduced Na'vi clans, the long-term character arcs, thematic ideas, and the overall direction of the franchise before each writer concentrated on refining individual screenplays. Cameron ultimately co-wrote Avatar: Fire and Ash with Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver while incorporating story contributions from the entire creative team, ensuring that every installment would function as both a self-contained story and an integral chapter in the larger saga. According to James Cameron, the story that eventually became Avatar: Fire and Ash was originally conceived as part of Avatar: The Way of Water. During the writing process, however, the screenplay expanded far beyond what could reasonably fit within a single feature-length film. The growing narrative included numerous new characters, expanded family relationships, spiritual mythology, additional Na'vi cultures, emotional developments following the death of Nadiam, and large-scale action sequences that would have significantly increased the runtime of the second installment. Rather than condensing or eliminating major storylines, Cameron chose to divide the material into 2 separate films. This creative decision allowed Avatar: The Way of Water to focus primarily on the Sully family's adaptation to the Metkayina clan and the emotional tragedy of Nadiam's death, while Avatar: Fire and Ash explores the consequences of that loss, the emergence of new enemies and allies, and the escalating war that threatens the future of Pandora. Cameron has explained that splitting the story provided more room for emotional depth, stronger pacing, richer world building, and more meaningful character development than would have been possible in a single film. While previous installments of the Avatar series emphasized introducing audiences to revolutionary filmmaking technology and visually spectacular environments, Cameron deliberately approached Avatar: Fire and Ash with a greater focus on character-driven storytelling. He has stated that the emotional journeys of the characters became the screenplay's highest priority, surpassing even the franchise's signature visual spectacle. The film explores themes of grief, trauma, vengeance, forgiveness, identity, family, and spiritual growth through the experiences of Jake Sully, Neytiri, Kiri, Spider, Loak, and Colonel Quaritch. Cameron wanted the audience to witness how each character responds differently to tragedy, particularly after the devastating death of Nadiam, making the third film one of the most emotionally complex entries in the series. Rather than relying solely on new creatures, locations, or technological innovations to captivate audiences, the screenplay places its greatest emphasis on the evolving relationships between its characters and the moral choices they must make during Pandora's darkest chapter. One of the screenplay's most significant creative additions was the introduction of the Manku clan, better known as the Ash people, a fierce Na'vi civilization inhabiting Pandora's volcanic regions. Cameron created the Ash clan specifically to challenge the moral simplicity that some audiences associated with the earlier films, where humans largely represented destruction while the Na'vi symbolized harmony with nature. He explained that he wanted to move beyond the idea that all humans are bad and all Na'vi are good, instead presenting a world populated by morally complex societies whose beliefs have been shaped by radically different historical experiences. The Manku have survived generations of environmental catastrophe, volcanic devastation, and relentless hardship, causing them to abandon many of Iwa's traditional teachings in favor of strength, survival, and militarism. Cameron has acknowledged that aspects of the Ash people's appearance, traditions, and cultural identity were inspired in part by the Banning people of Papua New Guinea, although the fictional clan was extensively developed through original world-building unique to the Avatar universe. Through their leader, Vrang, the screenplay explores how suffering and loss can transform an entire civilization, creating antagonists whose motivations are rooted in survival rather than simple villainy. To further expand Pandora's cultural diversity, Cameron also introduced the Wind Traders, a peaceful and nomadic Na'vi civilization that travels vast distances aboard enormous airborne sailing vessels. Unlike the warrior-focused Homatakea or the ocean-dwelling Meetke'ina, the Wind Traders function as merchants, diplomats, and explorers, transporting goods, knowledge, and traditions between distant Na'vi communities across Pandora. Cameron revealed that the concept for the Wind Traders was inspired by the historic camel caravans that traveled the ancient spice road during the Middle Ages, connecting civilizations through commerce and cultural exchange. Their inclusion broadens the scope of Pandora by demonstrating that its inhabitants possess a wide variety of economic systems, lifestyles, and cultural traditions, reinforcing the idea that the moon is home to countless distinct societies rather than a single unified Na'vi culture. The screenplay also underwent important revisions in response to real-world events. Following the tragic Uvalde school shooting in Texas in May 2022, Cameron reconsidered the depiction of firearms and military violence throughout the film. Early drafts of the screenplay featured the Meetke'ina clan adopting human firearms to defend themselves and the Talkan against increasingly aggressive RDA attacks. After reflecting on the prevalence of gun violence and the cultural impact of assault weapons, Cameron substantially revised these sequences, removing the storyline in which the Na'vi embraced modern firearms. He explained that he did not want to glorify or fetishize assault weapons or suggest that the Na'vi needed human technology to protect their world. Instead, the rewritten screenplay emphasizes traditional Na'vi weapons, spiritual unity, and Pandora's interconnected ecosystem, preserving the franchise's central message that true strength comes from harmony with nature rather than technological superiority. Cameron stated that he wanted to ensure guns did not contaminate Na'vi culture or undermine the philosophical values that distinguish Pandora's indigenous civilizations. Audience response to Avatar: The Way of Water also influenced the final screenplay for Avatar: Fire and Ash. Following the overwhelming popularity of Byakan, the exiled Talkan whose emotional friendship with Lo'ak became one of the most celebrated aspects of the second film, Cameron decided to expand the character's role during later script revisions. Recognizing the strong emotional connection audiences had formed with Byakan, he rewrote portions of the story to give the intelligent marine giant a more substantial presence throughout the third installment. Byakan's continued bond with Lo'ak becomes one of the film's emotional foundations while also playing a crucial role during the climactic battle against the Resources Development Administration and the Ash Clan. Cameron has explained that the audience's enthusiastic reaction reaffirmed his belief that emotional storytelling and memorable character relationships are just as essential to the success of the Avatar franchise as its groundbreaking visual effects and technological innovation, making Avatar: Fire and Ash one of the series' most emotionally ambitious and narratively mature chapters. Casting for Avatar: Fire and Ash was the culmination of a long-term strategy established by James Cameron during the development of the Avatar franchise, with many of the principal actors committing to multiple sequels years before production officially began. When Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana were originally cast as Jake Sully and Nate Ref for Avatar 2009, both actors signed multi-picture agreements that secured their participation in the planned sequels. As the emotional heart of the franchise, Worthington and Saldana continued portraying the leaders of the Sully family throughout the expanding saga, with Avatar: Fire and Ash presenting some of their most emotionally demanding performances to date. Following the devastating events of Avatar: The Way of Water, both actors explored the lasting psychological effects of grief, loss, and the pressures of leadership, allowing Jake and Neytiri to evolve into more mature and emotionally complex characters than in previous installments. James Cameron has frequently praised both performers for their ability to balance intimate family drama with the physical demands of extensive performance capture filmmaking, making them central to the franchise's continued success. One of the most closely watched casting developments involved Sigourney Weaver, who portrayed the late Dr. Grace Augustine in the original Avatar. In 2014, James Cameron initially revealed that Weaver would somehow return in the sequels as a living version of Grace Augustine, prompting widespread speculation among fans regarding the character's fate. As development progressed, however, Cameron ultimately took the story in a different direction. Rather than resurrecting Grace physically, Weaver was cast as Kiri, the mysterious teenage adopted daughter of Jake and Neytiri, who was miraculously born from Grace Augustine's genetically engineered Na'vi avatar after the scientist's death. The unconventional casting required Weaver, who was in her 70s during production, to portray an adolescent Na'vi girl through advanced performance capture technology. Cameron explained that Weaver's natural curiosity, emotional sensitivity, and youthful energy made her uniquely suited for the role despite the significant age difference. In addition to playing Kiri, Weaver also reprises her original role as Dr. Grace Augustine during spiritual visions and moments of communion through Iwa, further strengthening the emotional connection between the two characters and expanding the mystery surrounding Kiri's extraordinary origins. In August 2017, James Cameron officially confirmed that Stephen Lang would return as Colonel Miles Quaritch, revealing that the iconic antagonist would become the primary villain throughout all 4 planned Avatar sequels. Although Quaritch was killed during the climactic battle of the first film, Cameron explained that the character would continue his journey through advanced recombinant Na'vi technology, allowing Lang to portray a far more complex version of the ruthless military commander. Rather than simply recreating the villain audiences had previously encountered, Avatar: Fire and Ash further explores Quaritch's internal conflicts, particularly his evolving relationship with his biological son, Spider, while maintaining his relentless determination to destroy Jake Sully and reclaim Pandora for the Resources Development Administration, RDA. Cameron has frequently praised Lang's performance for bringing unexpected emotional depth and humanity to one of the franchise's most formidable antagonists. During the same period, Matt Gerald was also confirmed to reprise his role as Corporal Lyle Wainfleet, another former RDA soldier who, like Quaritch, returns in a recombinant Na'vi body following his apparent death in the original film. Cameron announced that Gerald would continue appearing throughout the remaining sequels, allowing Wainfleet to remain one of Quaritch's most loyal and experienced military operatives as the conflict on Pandora escalates. One of the franchise's most significant new additions came in October 2017, when Academy Award-winning actress Kate Winslet officially joined the Avatar series as Ronal, the powerful spiritual leader and matriarch of the Metkayina Reef clan. Winslet's casting marked her first collaboration with James Cameron since their critically acclaimed work together on Titanic, 1997, a film that remains one of the highest-grossing and most celebrated productions in cinema history. Cameron described working with Winslet on Titanic as one of the defining experiences of his career and revealed that both had long hoped to reunite on another project. Winslet initially expressed hesitation about returning to work with Cameron because of the demanding physical conditions associated with his productions, particularly the extensive underwater performance capture filming required for the Avatar sequels. However, after reading the screenplay and recognizing the strength, emotional complexity, and importance of Ronal's character within the expanding mythology of Pandora, she accepted the role. During production, Winslet underwent months of free-diving training and famously achieved a breath hold lasting more than 7 minutes, setting one of the longest underwater performance records for a major motion picture actor and demonstrating her commitment to the technically demanding production. Another major casting announcement occurred in June 2017, when Una Chaplin joined the Avatar franchise as Vrain, the powerful and enigmatic leader of the Manku clan, also known as the Ash People. Although Cameron initially kept details about the character strictly confidential, he revealed that Aang would become one of the franchise's most significant new figures and would continue appearing throughout the remaining sequels beginning with Avatar: Fire and Ash. Cameron envisioned Aang as a morally complex leader rather than a conventional villain, describing her as a fierce protector whose devotion to her people drives her toward increasingly ruthless decisions. Actress Izagans Les was among the performers who auditioned for the role before Chaplin was ultimately selected. Cameron later explained that Chaplin distinguished herself during the audition process through her ability to convey Aang's emotional intensity, commanding presence, psychological complexity, sensuality, and barely restrained fury. Her performance captured the balance of strength, vulnerability, and uncompromising leadership that Cameron believed was essential for one of the saga's central antagonists. In January 2018, Dilip Rao was officially confirmed to return as Dr. Max Patel, the compassionate scientist who chose to remain on Pandora after the defeat of the RDA in the original film. Max continues serving as one of humanity's strongest allies among the Na'vi, working alongside Dr. Norm Spellman to study Pandora's unique ecosystem while assisting Jake Sully and the resistance against renewed human colonization efforts. His scientific expertise becomes increasingly important as the mysteries surrounding Spider's biological transformation and Kiri's extraordinary connection to Iwa deepen. Additional casting announcements continued throughout production. In April 2018, acclaimed British actor David Thewlis revealed that he had joined the Avatar franchise in a role that would span multiple installments. While details initially remain confidential, Thewlis later confirmed in 2020 that he would portray Palak, the respected Na'vi leader of the Peaceful Wind Traders, a nomadic merchant civilization introduced in Avatar: Fire and Ash. Cameron conceived Palak as an experienced leader whose people travel across Pandora aboard enormous airborne sailing vessels, connecting distant Na'vi communities through trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Thewlis' casting reflected Cameron's broader vision of expanding Pandora beyond the forest-dwelling Omadakea and ocean-based Medcaena by introducing entirely new civilizations with distinct traditions, philosophies, and social structures. Together with the returning ensemble cast and several important new additions, the carefully assembled cast of Avatar: Fire and Ash further broadened the emotional scope and cultural diversity of the Avatar universe while laying the foundation for the franchise's remaining chapters. Principal photography for Avatar: Fire and Ash was conducted as part of James Cameron's ambitious strategy to produce multiple Avatar sequels simultaneously, making it one of the most complex and technologically advanced film productions ever undertaken. Production officially began alongside Avatar: The Way of Water on September 25, 2017, with performance capture photography commencing at Lightstorm Entertainment's state-of-the-art facilities in Manhattan Beach, California. Rather than relying on traditional filmmaking methods, Cameron once again employed an advanced motion capture system that allowed actors to perform together on specially designed stages while every facial expression, body movement, and interaction was digitally recorded and later translated into highly detailed Na'vi characters. Because the second and third films featured the same younger cast members, Cameron chose to shoot much of their material back-to-back to preserve continuity and avoid noticeable changes in the actors' appearances over the years. The production also made extensive use of revolutionary underwater performance capture technology, an innovation that required years of research and development before filming could begin. Actors underwent months of intensive freediving instruction to perform lengthy underwater scenes without conventional scuba equipment, enabling Cameron to capture authentic underwater performances that had never before been achieved on such a large scale in cinematic history. A major production milestone was reached on November 14, 2018, when James Cameron announced that all principal performance capture photography involving the main cast had been successfully completed. This achievement represented the culmination of more than a year of intensive digital production and provided the filmmakers with the foundation necessary to continue the lengthy visual effects process that would occupy thousands of artists over the following years. While the motion capture work was largely finished, traditional live-action photography for Avatar: The Way of Water and Avatar: Fire and Ash continued in New Zealand during early 2019. The country once again served as the franchise's primary production base, with location photography, practical sets, technical production, and additional live-action sequences being filmed alongside extensive post-production work. New Zealand's world-class filmmaking infrastructure and long-standing collaboration with Lightstorm Entertainment and YTA Diaresis FX played an essential role in supporting the unprecedented scale of the production. Production faced an unexpected challenge in March 2020 when the global COVID-19 pandemic forced widespread shutdowns across the international film industry. On March 17, 2020, producer John Landau announced that filming in New Zealand had been suspended indefinitely in accordance with public health restrictions. Despite the interruption to physical production, work on the Avatar sequels did not come to a complete halt. Virtual production, editorial work, and technical development continued at Lightstorm Entertainment's facilities in Manhattan Beach, California, while the extensive visual effects pipeline remained active at YTA Diaresis FX, then known as Weta Digital, in Wellington, New Zealand. During this period, artists, technicians, and visual effects teams continued refining digital environments, character animation, rendering technology, and other post-production elements, allowing significant progress to be made even while principal photography was temporarily paused. By early May 2020, New Zealand's successful management of the pandemic enabled the government to approve comprehensive health and safety protocols that allowed large-scale film productions to resume under strict conditions. Recognizing the Avatar sequels as projects of major economic significance, New Zealand granted special border exemptions for essential international crew members. On May 31, 2020, James Cameron, John Landau, and key members of the production team received approval to re-enter the country under a special visa category reserved for projects of substantial economic value. The following day, June 1, Landau shared a photograph on social media confirming that he and Cameron had returned to New Zealand to restart production. Upon arrival, all 55 crew members entering the country completed a mandatory 2-week government-supervised quarantine in a Wellington hotel before being permitted to resume filming. As a result, Avatar: The Way of Water and Avatar: Fire and Ash became the first major Hollywood blockbuster productions to successfully restart principal photography following pandemic-related shutdowns, establishing an important precedent for the global film industry during the COVID-19 recovery period. Filming resumed under rigorous health and safety protocols and continued throughout the remainder of 2020. In September 2020, Cameron revealed that approximately 95% of Avatar: Fire and Ash had already been completed, with only a limited amount of additional material remaining to be filmed. Principal photography officially concluded in late December 2020, marking the end of one of the longest and most technically demanding productions in modern filmmaking. Although live-action and performance capture work had largely finished, the film entered an extensive post-production phase involving years of digital animation, visual effects rendering, editing, sound design, musical scoring, and final compositing. Because virtually every frame of the film required advanced computer-generated imagery, YTA Diaresis FX continued refining Pandora's environments, creatures, characters, atmospheric effects, volcanic landscapes, and underwater sequences long after filming had wrapped. Following the theatrical release of Avatar: The Way of Water in December 2022, James Cameron revisited portions of Avatar: Fire and Ash to strengthen connections between the two films and respond to audience enthusiasm. After seeing the overwhelmingly positive reception to Byakan, the exiled Tulkun whose emotional relationship with Loak became one of the highlights of the second film, Cameron expanded the character's role by incorporating additional scenes and giving the intelligent marine giant a more significant presence in the story. Cameron also chose to include new material featuring Tawaryuk, the legendary airborne apex predator first introduced in the original Avatar: 2009. The additions were designed to reinforce Jake Sully's legacy as Taweret Makto while enhancing the emotional and mythological continuity of the franchise. These revisions were completed through a combination of script refinements, additional visual effects work, and limited pickup photography rather than large-scale reshoots. By February 2024, Cameron confirmed that principal photography for Avatar: Fire and Ash was essentially complete, with production focusing only on a small number of pickup shots and finishing work required to support the final edit. He explained that the remainder of the production schedule was devoted primarily to post-production, including the completion of the film's extraordinarily complex visual effects, performance animation, sound mixing, and final color grading. Given the immense technical demands of the Avatar franchise, Cameron emphasized that the years between filming and release were dedicated not to extensive reshoots but to perfecting every visual element of Pandora using cutting-edge digital filmmaking techniques. This prolonged post-production process ultimately ensured that Avatar: Fire and Ash maintained the franchise's reputation for pushing the boundaries of cinematic technology while delivering one of the most visually sophisticated films ever created. The musical score for Avatar: Fire and Ash was composed by Simon Frangelen, who continued as the principal composer for the Avatar franchise following the death of legendary composer James Horner in 2015. Frangelen had previously worked closely with Horner on the original Avatar, 2009, as a music producer and orchestrator before composing the acclaimed score for Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022. In August 2021, producer John Landau officially confirmed that Frangelen would return to compose the music for all of the planned Avatar sequels, ensuring a consistent musical identity across James Cameron's expansive science fiction saga. For Avatar: Fire and Ash, Frangelen further developed many of the franchise's established musical themes while introducing an entirely new collection of motifs representing the emotional journey of the Sully family, the volcanic homeland of the Mang Ash clan, the peaceful Wind Traders, and the increasingly spiritual relationships between Kiri, Spider, and Iwa. His orchestral score combines sweeping symphonic arrangements with choir, indigenous-inspired percussion, ethnic woodwinds, vocal performances, and electronic textures to create an immersive musical landscape that reflects Pandora's diverse cultures and environments. Throughout the film, the score underscores the story's central themes of grief, family, sacrifice, identity, conflict, hope, and spiritual rebirth, while maintaining the emotional and cinematic grandeur that has become synonymous with the Avatar series. In October 2025, it was announced that internationally acclaimed singer-songwriter Miley Cyrus would contribute an original song to the film in collaboration with the award-winning producers and songwriters Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. The resulting track, Dream As One, was written specifically for Avatar: Fire and Ash and serves as the film's official end credits theme. The song blends emotional pop melodies with orchestral elements inspired by Frangelen's score, reflecting the film's overarching messages of unity, resilience, healing, and the interconnectedness of all life on Pandora. Released as the soundtrack's lead single on November 14, 2025, Dream As One received widespread attention ahead of the film's theatrical debut and became a central component of the movie's promotional campaign. Its lyrical themes complement the emotional conclusion of the story, reinforcing the ideas of reconciliation, family, and hope that define the film's final moments. The official Avatar: Fire and Ash original motion picture soundtrack was released worldwide on December 5, 2025, approximately 2 weeks before the film's theatrical release. The album features Simon Frangelen's complete original score, showcasing an expansive collection of orchestral and atmospheric compositions that accompany the film's emotional drama, large-scale action sequences, spiritual moments, and breathtaking exploration of Pandora's volcanic landscapes and newly introduced Na'vi cultures. The soundtrack continues the musical evolution established in the previous films by incorporating familiar thematic material associated with Jake Sully, Neytiri, the Omaticaya, the Meetkeina, and Iwa, while introducing distinctive new musical identities for the Ash clan, the Wind Traders, and other newly introduced civilizations. Critics praised Frangelin's score for honoring James Horner's iconic musical legacy while confidently establishing its own emotional voice and expanding the sonic identity of the Avatar universe through richly layered orchestration, memorable thematic development, and immersive world-building. The soundtrack album concludes with a second original composition, The Future and the Past, written by Simon Frangelin and performed vocally by Zoe Saldana +A in the fictional Na'vi language. Serving as the closing track of the album, the song functions as a reflective musical epilogue that captures the emotional aftermath of the film's events while celebrating Pandora's enduring spiritual connection between past, present, and future generations. Saldana +as performance, delivered entirely in Na'vi, reinforces the authenticity of the franchise's world-building and highlights Neytiri's emotional journey throughout the film. Together, Frangelin's sweeping orchestral score, Miley Cyrus' uplifting end credits anthem Dream As One, and Saldana +as haunting vocal performance on The Future and the Past create one of the most emotionally resonant musical collections in the Avatar franchise, further enriching James Cameron's epic science fiction saga through a powerful fusion of cinematic storytelling and musical expression. The global marketing campaign for Avatar, Fire and Ash was one of the largest and most ambitious promotional efforts of 2025, reflecting both the enormous scale of the production and the continued worldwide popularity of James Cameron's Avatar franchise. Industry reports estimated that the film's marketing expenditure reached approximately $150 million, covering worldwide advertising, theatrical promotions, television campaigns, digital media, international publicity tours, premium format exhibitions, merchandise partnerships, and promotional events. The campaign was carefully designed to build anticipation over several months while maintaining secrecy surrounding many of the film's major story developments, newly introduced Na'vi cultures, and emotional narrative twists. Disney and 20th Century Studios emphasized the film's groundbreaking visual effects, spectacular action sequences, and the introduction of previously unseen regions of Pandora, while also highlighting the more emotionally driven story centered on the Sully family's continuing journey following the events of Avatar, The Way of Water. The film's first major promotional material arrived in late July 2025, when the official teaser trailer premiered simultaneously in theaters and online. In cinemas, the teaser was attached exclusively to screenings of the Fantastic Four: First Steps, allowing audiences attending one of the summer's biggest blockbuster releases to experience the first footage from the next Avatar installment on the largest possible screens. The teaser showcased breathtaking new environments across Pandora, introduced audiences to the volcanic homeland of the Mang, or Ash Clan, offered brief glimpses of returning characters including Jake Sully, Neytiri, Kiri, Loak, Spider, and Colonel Miles Quaritch, and provided the first official look at Tunia Chaplin's formidable new character, Vrang. Although the preview revealed little about the overall storyline, it emphasized the film's darker tone, emotional stakes, and extraordinary visual spectacle, generating significant excitement across social media and quickly becoming one of the most discussed movie trailers of the year. On September 25, 2025, exactly 8 years after principal photography for the Avatar sequels had begun, 20th Century Studios released the film's first full theatrical trailer. Expanding considerably upon the teaser, the trailer revealed additional footage of the Sully family's continuing struggle after Nadiam's death, the growing alliance between Colonel Quaritch and the Ash Clan, the introduction of the peaceful Wind Traders led by Palek, spectacular new volcanic landscapes, large-scale aerial and naval battles, and the return of iconic creatures from previous films alongside several newly introduced species. The trailer further showcased Simon Frangelin's emotional score while reinforcing the film's central themes of grief, survival, family, revenge, and hope. Without revealing major plot twists, the preview established Avatar, Fire and Ash as the darkest and most emotionally intense chapter of the franchise, while highlighting the revolutionary visual effects and immersive world-building that had become synonymous with James Cameron's filmmaking. As part of the promotional campaign, Avatar, The Way of Water returned to theaters in October 2025 in a limited re-release designed to reconnect audiences with the story before the arrival of the third installment. To reward returning viewers and generate additional excitement, each screening featured one of 3 exclusive mid-credits preview scenes from Avatar: Fire and Ash, with the specific scene varying randomly between theaters. One preview depicted Colonel Miles Quaritch entering an encampment belonging to the Ash clan, where he engaged in a tense first meeting with their powerful leader, Vrang, foreshadowing the alliance that would become central to the film's story. Another sequence introduced audiences to the peaceful Wind Traders as Jake Sully, Neytiri, and their family boarded one of the clan's enormous airborne sailing vessels and met their charismatic leader, Palek, providing the first extended look at one of Pandora's newest civilizations. The third preview showed the Sully family traveling aboard the Wind Traders' flying fleet before coming under a devastating surprise attack by Ash clan warriors, offering audiences an exciting glimpse of the film's large-scale aerial action. The use of randomized preview scenes encouraged repeat theatrical viewings while allowing different audiences to experience unique footage from the upcoming sequel without revealing the film's major narrative developments. Throughout the remainder of the promotional campaign, Disney and 20th Century Studios continued releasing character posters, behind-the-scenes featurettes, television commercials, premium format trailers for IMAX, Dolby Cinema, RALD 3D, and other large-format presentations, along with interviews featuring James Cameron and a principal cast discussing the emotional evolution of the story, the introduction of the Ash Clan and Wind Traders, and the technological innovations behind the production. The campaign also highlighted the return of the franchise's groundbreaking underwater performance capture, the creation of Pandora's volcanic ecosystems, and the film's exploration of more morally complex Na'vi societies. By balancing carefully selected footage with strict secrecy surrounding the film's biggest surprises, the marketing campaign successfully built anticipation among longtime fans while introducing new audiences to the next chapter of Cameron's science fiction epic, helping establish Avatar: Fire and Ash as one of the most highly anticipated and commercially significant cinematic releases of 2025. Avatar: Fire and Ash was theatrically released in the United States on December 19, 2025, by 20th Century Studios, marking the highly anticipated third chapter in James Cameron's epic Avatar saga. The film debuted in a wide global rollout following its world premiere at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood, Los Angeles, on December 1, 2025, where cast members, filmmakers, and invited guests attended a major red carpet event celebrating the return to Pandora. Continuing the franchise's tradition of holiday releases, the film opened during the lucrative Christmas season, allowing it to benefit from extended theatrical play throughout the year-end holiday period. As with the previous Avatar films, Fire and Ash was released simultaneously in standard 2D, RALD 3D, IMAX 3D, Dolby Cinema, ScreenX, and other premium large-format presentations, enabling audiences to experience the film's groundbreaking visual effects, immersive stereoscopic photography, enhanced sound design, and expanded aspect ratios in the formats for which it had been specifically designed. The film was also released in 4DX, utilizing synchronized motion seats and environmental effects including wind, water, vibration, scent, and atmospheric lighting to accompany key action sequences, aerial battles, underwater scenes, and volcanic landscapes, creating one of the most immersive theatrical experiences available for the production. The road to the film's release was one of the longest and most frequently revised schedules in modern Hollywood history. Shortly after the unprecedented success of Avatar, 2009, James Cameron announced plans for 2 sequels, with a third film initially targeted for December 2015. However, as Cameron expanded the franchise from 2 sequels into a 5-film saga and committed to developing revolutionary filmmaking technology including underwater performance capture, advanced motion capture systems, and next-generation visual effects, the production required significantly more time than originally anticipated. Over the following decade, The film's release date was postponed numerous times to accommodate the increasingly ambitious scope of the project. After its original 2015 target, the release was successively moved to 2016, 2017, and 2018 as Cameron and his creative team continued refining the screenplays and technological innovations required for the franchise. In April 2016, following the official announcement that the Avatar series would expand into 4 sequels, 20th Century Fox unveiled a revised release schedule that positioned Avatar: Fire and Ash for December 2020. The following year, the studio announced another updated timetable, moving the film to December 17, 2021, while simultaneously establishing release dates for the remaining sequels. Further changes occurred in May 2019, when Disney reorganized its theatrical calendar after announcing a new slate of Star Wars films following its acquisition of 21st Century Fox. As part of the revised release strategy, Avatar: Fire and Ash was delayed again to December 22, 2023, allowing both franchises to receive separate holiday release windows. The emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020 created unprecedented disruption across the global film industry, forcing production shutdowns and widespread changes to theatrical schedules. In August 2020, Disney postponed the film once more, setting a new release date of December 20, 2024, to accommodate the delays caused by the pandemic and allow additional time for production and post-production. The release schedule underwent one final adjustment on June 13, 2023, when Disney announced that Avatar: Fire and Ash would move to its eventual release date of December 19, 2025. The delay was primarily attributed to the impact of the 2023 Writers Guild of America strike, which affected production schedules across the entertainment industry, as well as the continued complexity of completing the film's extensive visual effects work. In total, the project experienced 9 major release date changes, making it one of the most delayed blockbuster productions in recent memory. James Cameron repeatedly emphasized that the additional time was essential to perfect the screenplay, visual effects, animation, performance capture, and overall cinematic quality, insisting that the franchise's technological ambitions should never be compromised by an accelerated release schedule. During the film's development, widespread media reports suggested that James Cameron's initial cut of Avatar: Fire and Ash had an extraordinary running time of approximately 9 hours, fueling speculation that the director intended to release an extended version. Cameron later clarified that the reports had been misunderstood, explaining that the 9 hours referred collectively to the combined first cuts of Avatar: Fire and Ash, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5, with each film averaging approximately 3 hours in length during early assembly. He also confirmed that Fire and Ash would ultimately have a longer runtime than Avatar: The Way of Water, which ran for 3 hours and 12 minutes, reflecting the film's expansive narrative, multiple storylines, and continued emphasis on immersive world-building and character development. Although the film launched simultaneously across most international markets in December 2025, a small number of territories experienced adjustments to their release schedules. In Hong Kong, the theatrical release was postponed until January 8, 2026, following the tragic Wang Fu Court fire. Out of respect for those affected by the disaster, the local distributor temporarily removed the film's subtitle from promotional materials to avoid unintended insensitivity associated with the word fire. As a result, Hong Kong became the final major international territory to receive the film's theatrical release. Elsewhere, the planned Australian premiere, originally scheduled for December 15, 2025, was cancelled following the 2025 Bondi Beach shooting, with promotional events being scaled back out of respect for the victims while the nationwide theatrical release proceeded as planned. Upon its worldwide debut, Avatar: Fire and Ash became one of the year's most significant cinematic events, with premium format screenings accounting for a substantial percentage of global ticket sales. Its availability across IMAX 3D, Dolby Cinema, RED 3D, ScreenX, 4DX, and other premium exhibition formats reflected James Cameron's long-standing commitment to advancing theatrical technology and encouraging audiences to experience his films on the largest and most technologically sophisticated screens available. The film's release also reaffirmed the Avatar franchise's reputation as a showcase for cutting-edge cinematic presentation, combining high-resolution stereoscopic photography, immersive sound design, advanced projection systems, and innovative visual storytelling to create a uniquely theatrical experience. Avatar: Fire and Ash is dedicated to the memory of two of James Cameron's longtime collaborators whose contributions were instrumental to the success of the franchise. The film honors editor John Refuah, who passed away in 2023, and producer John Landau, who died in 2024 after serving as Cameron's producing partner on every Avatar film and numerous other landmark productions. Their dedication appears in the film's closing credits as a tribute to their lasting creative legacy and their invaluable contributions to bringing the world of Pandora to life for audiences around the globe. Following its successful theatrical run, Avatar: Fire and Ash entered the home entertainment market through a staggered release strategy that allowed audiences to experience the film across multiple digital and physical formats. The film was first released for a digital purchase and download on March 31, 2026, by 20th Century Home Entertainment, making it available through major digital storefronts worldwide. In addition to the feature film, the digital edition included an extensive collection of bonus content designed to provide viewers with an in-depth look at the making of the production. These supplemental features consisted of behind-the-scenes documentaries, filmmaker commentaries, production featurettes, visual effects breakdowns, performance capture demonstrations, concept artwork galleries, and interviews with director James Cameron, producer John Landau, members of the cast, and key creative personnel. The bonus material explored the groundbreaking technology behind Pandora's volcanic environments, the creation of the Ash Clan and Wind Traders, underwater performance capture, character animation, costume and creature design, and the years-long post-production process that brought the film's ambitious vision to life. The film was subsequently released on May 19, 2026, in a wide range of physical home media formats, including 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, and DVD, allowing collectors and home theater enthusiasts to experience the film with premium picture and audio quality. The 4K Ultra HD edition featured high dynamic range, HDR, presentation, enhanced image resolution, immersive surround sound formats, and a comprehensive selection of special features carried over from the digital release, alongside additional exclusive content for physical media collectors. The Blu-ray 3D edition preserved James Cameron's stereoscopic presentation, enabling audiences equipped with compatible home theater systems to recreate much of the immersive three-dimensional experience originally designed for theatrical exhibition. The physical release of Avatar: Fire and Ash also marked a significant milestone in the history of the Walt Disney Company's home entertainment operations. It became the final in-house physical media release produced under the Buena Vista Home Entertainment label before Disney discontinued its internal physical media production division following company-wide restructuring in April 2026, during which the remaining staff responsible for in-house physical media distribution were laid off. As a result, Avatar: Fire and Ash represents the final major theatrical release to be manufactured and distributed through Disney's long-running internal home entertainment production operation, bringing to a close a chapter in the company's decades-long history of physical media publishing. The film later made its streaming debut on Disney Plus on June 24, 2026. Becoming available to subscribers worldwide following its digital and physical home media releases. Its arrival on the streaming platform significantly expanded the film's audience by allowing viewers to revisit Pandora from home while introducing the third installment of the Avatar saga to subscribers who had not experienced it during its theatrical run. The Disney Plus release also helped sustain interest in the franchise as audiences looked ahead to the development and eventual release of Avatar 4 and Avatar 5, ensuring that Avatar: Fire and Ash remained a central part of the expanding Avatar universe across theatrical, home entertainment, and streaming platforms. Avatar: Fire and Ash emerged as one of the highest-grossing films of 2025, continuing the remarkable commercial success of James Cameron's Avatar franchise. By the end of its worldwide theatrical run, the film had earned $404.3 million in the United States and Canada and $1.086 billion in international markets, for a worldwide total of $1.490 billion, although it became the third highest-grossing film of 2025 and the third consecutive Avatar film to surpass the $1 billion mark globally. It also became the lowest-grossing installment in the Avatar series, reflecting the exceptionally high benchmarks established by both Avatar 2009 and Avatar: The Way of Water 2022. Nevertheless, the film reaffirmed the franchise's enduring worldwide popularity and further cemented James Cameron's reputation as one of cinema's most commercially successful filmmakers. Leading into its release, industry analysts closely monitored the film's commercial prospects due to its enormous production and marketing costs. By December 17, 2025, just days before its North American debut, Deadline Hollywood projected that the film would generate the worldwide opening weekend between $340 million and $380 million. Upon release, Avatar: Fire and Ash opened with an impressive $347.1 million worldwide, placing it comfortably within industry expectations and marking one of the largest global openings of the year. In North America, the film earned $12 million from Thursday preview screenings, a strong result that nevertheless fell approximately $5 million below the preview earnings of Avatar: The Way of Water. During its opening weekend in the United States and Canada, the film grossed $89.2 million, comfortably securing the #1 position at the domestic box office. While this opening exceeded the original Avatar's $77 million debut in 2009, it represented a noticeable decline compared with the $134.1 million opening weekend achieved by Avatar: The Way of Water in 2022. Industry observers attributed the softer domestic launch to changing theatrical attendance patterns, stronger competition, and the franchise's continued reliance on exceptional long-term audience retention rather than front-loaded opening weekends. Consistent with the performance of previous James Cameron releases, Avatar: Fire and Ash demonstrated remarkable staying power throughout its theatrical run. During its second weekend, the film remained at #1 in North America, earning $63.1 million, representing a modest 29% decline from its opening weekend. This exceptionally strong hold significantly outperformed Avatar: The Way of Water, which experienced a 53% second weekend drop, reinforcing Cameron's reputation for producing films that maintain audience interest over extended periods through positive word-of-mouth and repeat viewings. The film continued its impressive momentum into its third weekend, once again topping the domestic box office with $41.4 million, reflecting another solid decline of only 34%. It maintained first place during its fourth weekend, adding $21.5 million, followed by a fifth consecutive weekend at the top with $14.5 million, representing another relatively modest 33% decline. The film's consistent weekly holds demonstrated strong audience satisfaction and mirrored the long theatrical legs traditionally associated with the Avatar franchise. Its uninterrupted reign at the domestic box office finally came to an end during its sixth weekend, when it was overtaken by Mercy, although it still earned an additional $6.4 million, continuing to contribute steadily to its overall domestic total. Internationally, Avatar: Fire and Ash once again proved to be a dominant global performer, with overseas markets accounting for the majority of its worldwide revenue. The film generated $1.086 billion outside North America, demonstrating the extraordinary international appeal of the Avatar franchise across Europe, Asia, Latin America, Oceania, and numerous emerging theatrical markets. Premium format screenings including IMAX, Dolby Cinema, REL 3D, 4DX, and other large-format presentations played a particularly significant role in the film's commercial success, as audiences sought to experience James Cameron's visually immersive filmmaking in the formats for which it had been specifically designed. The continued popularity of premium ticket formats substantially increased average ticket prices and contributed to the film's strong global earnings throughout its theatrical run. The film also delivered a significant boost to IMAX Corporation, becoming one of the company's most successful releases. Driven largely by Avatar: Fire and Ash, IMAX reported that its fourth quarter 2025 revenue and operating earnings increased by 35%, rising to $125.2 million compared with $92.7 million during the same period in 2024, according to the company. James Cameron's repeated encouragement for audiences to experience the film in IMAX resulted in exceptionally strong attendance across premium large-format theaters worldwide. The film ultimately generated approximately $112 million in IMAX ticket sales, making it the highest-grossing Hollywood release in IMAX history at the time and establishing new quarterly box office records for the format. The film's outstanding premium format performance further demonstrated the Avatar franchise's unique ability to attract audiences seeking immersive theatrical experiences that showcase the latest advancements in cinematic presentation. Although Avatar: Fire and Ash did not surpass the unprecedented financial achievements of its predecessors, its $1.490 billion worldwide gross firmly established it as one of the year's biggest commercial successes and another landmark achievement for the Avatar franchise. Its combination of sustained theatrical attendance, exceptional international performance, and record-breaking premium format revenue reinforced the series' status as one of the most successful film franchises in cinema history while strengthening audience anticipation for the forthcoming sequels, Avatar 4 and Avatar 5, which are scheduled to continue James Cameron's epic science fiction saga. Avatar: Fire and Ash received mixed to positive reviews from critics upon its release, with reviewers broadly praising its groundbreaking visual effects, technical craftsmanship, immersive world-building, action sequences, and ambitious production values, while expressing more divided opinions regarding its lengthy runtime, familiar narrative structure, and overall story. Although many critics agreed that the film once again demonstrated James Cameron's unmatched ability to create visually spectacular cinematic experiences, several felt that the third installment relied too heavily on narrative elements established by the previous Avatar films rather than introducing a significantly new dramatic direction. Even so, the film is widely recognized as another major technical achievement in blockbuster filmmaking and was frequently cited as one of the most visually accomplished releases of 2025. On the review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, Avatar: Fire and Ash holds an approval rating of 65% based on 358 professional reviews, with an average rating of 6.3 out of 10. The website's critical consensus states